Hello everyone, my name is Patricia Preston. I would like to welcome you to this group and day of crafting today. I hope you're watching along, and make sure you type replay in the comments so that we know that we have seen this video. And also make sure that for any of our demonstrations you are uploading a comment, a picture in a comment to share what you have made, to share ideas for all of us here. It's great. We love when you all share your projects after we demonstrate something to give others ideas, and as well as us as demonstrators here who are providing you with these videos. It's great to see what you have made and what has inspired you. So make sure you're commenting and you're uploading your pictures. We love to hear from you. So today I'm going to be demonstrating another project using one of my favorite bundles from the new annual catalog. It's the annual catalog from May 2022 through April 2023. And we're going to be showcasing the Cup of Tea stamp set along with the coordinating dies. And this is a 3D project. So one of my favorite things to do with Stampin' Up products is to create 3D projects. So I'm going to give credit and a shout out to Black Cat Crafts for this project. It is a little 3D teacup that you can use as a party favor or accompany a beautiful birthday card or whatever occasion that you want to give someone. But I saw these and I saw her demonstration and I just had to make them. I'm thinking bridal shower, baby shower. These would be really simple to make. I made about 4 in an hour, and that seems like a lot, like 15 minutes per teacup. However, this would go very quickly as long as you had a plan in place. After you've gone through and picked out the papers and the embellishments and the colors that you want to do, I think you could whip these up in less than 15 minutes per teacup. So I think these would be great to mass produce as long as you worked out all the details ahead of time. So what can we put in here? Well, you can put anything you can imagine. It's not a very big cup. However, it's just enough for a little favor, which is perfect. So one lint door truffle fits like this. You can see how that fits in there. It even hides behind the flowers that I have popped up. 4 Hershey Kisses will stack nicely in here as long as you strategically stack those kisses. They will fit as well. 3 fits so that it's kind of even. You can see it doesn't pop up. But if these aren't traveling and they're just on a table, 4 would fit just fine. And you can see how they stack like that. So lots of different choices. And if you have great ideas for what you would put in here, please pop those in the comments as well to expand our horizons on what you'd like to give as a favor and what would fit in here. So these are my 2 samples. I have another sample that I haven't quite put together yet, and then I have one from scratch that we're going to work together putting together. So let's get started. So this suite you can find in the annual catalog. It's right in the beginning. So it is on page 12 and page 13. It is called the Tea Boutique bundle, and we're going to be using the 6x6 DSP paper stack from here, and we're going to be using the stamp set, and we're going to be using the die set. So you can purchase these separately, or you can purchase the Tea Boutique bundle, which includes all of the things that you see here on the page, everything that I've already mentioned, with an additional envelopes and cards, cardstock, card bases that coordinate with the paper and are beautiful. So you can get this whole thing as a suite with one sales number. Very, very simple ordering. So again, that's on page 12 and page 13 of the catalog. All right. So what we want to do is we want to first get out our paper trimmer. We're going to need a piece of cardstock that measures 2 inches by 3 3/4. So I've already cut my cardstock, and we just need to do a little bit of scoring. So you can choose to use your paper trimmer or the Simply Scored scoreboard for your scoring. Since this is a little sheet of paper, I I'm just going to use my paper trimmer, and we can review how to use the paper trimmer doing some scoring. So my paper is already cut to size. We know that the cutting blade is the darker blade, and the scoring blade is our lighter color blade. All right, so when I say score on the short side, we want to make sure that we are scoring on the shorter side of the 2-inch side. So we're going to line this up, and we're going to score at a 1/2 inch and 1.5 inches. So I like to use the measurements on the right-hand side of the guide for that 1/2 inch. Just makes it easier because I have a little bit more paper to hold on to with my left hand, and we're just simply going to score. And then our next score line is going to be at the 1.5 inch mark. So I'm going to turn it around so that I can use the left-hand side measurements and line that up at 1.5 and score. So you can see we now have 2 score lines that run vertical on the short side. Now we're going to turn this to the long side, which is the 3 3/4 inch side, and we're going to score at 1.5 and 2 1/4. So 2 1/4 inches and 1.5. And this is it for cutting and scoring using our paper trimmer. I'm going to bring in our bone folder, and you can see my score lines on here. Hopefully you can see that in my camera. And we're going to fold and burnish those score lines. We're going to do a little bit of cutting. Now on the long side, we have a rectangle, a square, and a rectangle. We're going to cut these squares, and we're just going to miter and cut all at the same time. And miter means we're just taking a little bit of edge, so we're cutting a little triangle out of that score line. We're going to turn it around, and we're going to do it the same way on the other square, on the other side of the paper. Okay. And then we're just going to miter the edges a little bit. It makes putting a box together a little bit nicer. So we're just going to take a very slim piece off of each of those outside rectangle sides. So now we have, looks like this. This is our template. Very simple. Now, to put this together, you're going to want to bring in your Tombow multi-purpose liquid glue. We're going to apply a little bit of glue on this center section. We're going to fold in, and we're going to bring these two sides in together to form a V. You don't want it too wide because we don't want to go past the width of the top of that teacup. So just, you can guide once you get it down. It's just very little bit overlap here, and that's all you want to do. And it doesn't matter that you have glue left over here. Don't worry about that because you're going to be covering up with that section up with the die cut. So you don't want a very wide V, but you don't want a very narrow V. You can see just that little bit, little triangle. We're going to do the same thing on the other side. And we're just going to press and hold it in a little bit. So now we have our little box. You can see that, how it opens up. Hold that just a second more. Okay. Now what we want to do is we want to do some die cutting because we need to make the sides of this box. So you can see here that the teacup dies coordinate with the stamped images. This has a lot of options. We have die cuts that coordinate with the stamped images, and then we have extra die cuts that you can punch out, like the hearts and an additional flower and some tags or tea bags, if you will, die cuts. So I have a scrap of paper that we are going to cut out. I'm using Mango Melody, Mango Melody, I believe, that we're going to cut out, and we're going to use, we need 2 cardstock pieces of, I use the matching cardstock for the box, but you can design it however you would like. So we're going to use the plain solid teacup to do that. So I ran these through my die cut machine, and I got these. And then we're going to pick a piece of wonderful, beautiful DSP from that 6x6 designer series pack called Boutique. So many different options. You can see I've already used quite a bit of this paper. I like to keep my scraps too, because you never know. But lots of different options in patterns on one side. And then on the reverse side, you have more muted tones that coordinate with the colors. Not so much a pattern per se, a busy pattern, but more solid colors. So if you like that look, you can decorate your outside of your teacup with a solid. So lots of different choices. So for this particular cup, I wanted something floral. So I picked the floral teacup, and again, I used the full teacup frame to cut out my DSP, and you only need 1 of those. All right, so I've got my box, I've got 1 DSP cut out and 2 cardstock pieces. Now the rest of the stamping and I guess embellishments, if you want to embellish with other die cuts, then you get to choose how you want to decorate your teacup. So for this teacup, I've decided that I wanted some of the heart die cuts, which is the bigger hearts here come from the die cuts. You actually get 2 in the set. So that's these here. And then you get a die cut with 3 itty bitty ones that cut out 3 at a time. And so I have those cut out. Like this. All right. And then there's some pieces. I want to cut out, or I want to decorate with a stamped image. And I want to choose this leaf. So we're basically, what I did was I stamped out the, just took a scrap piece of paper, and I have my leaf image. I'm going to use crumb cake, but I don't want it super dark because I feel like this crumb cake, if I did it real dark, it would just be too overpowering. So we're going to stamp off. So we're going to ink it up. We're going to stamp it once and then stamp it again with the remaining ink. And that's how you get a lighter image. You're stamping off. So that was done with crumb cake. And then I'm going to take the coordinating die. Let's see how beautifully that lines up. Run it through my die cut machine, and voila, we get this image. So we've got some decorations here. One more thing that we want to do, and I had a piece of paper here, is I want to do a little tag. So I'm going to take the image from the stamp set. That is the tag image. This is the larger image that corresponds with the larger die cut tag in the set. And we're going to stamp that outside outline in Mango Melody. And the inside sentiment, the sentiments in this set are really, really adorable because we have so many to choose from that are tiny that fit within this tag, and the smaller tag as well. So we've got sweet, I miss you, I just can't thank you enough, enjoy, a to and a from, although you would have to write really super small, it's time for tea. And so I just can't thank you enough in that center of that tag. So I'm going to stamp that in Sweet Sorbet because that coordinates with the colors of my DSP. So I'm going to ink this up. And place that inside. Let me remove this a second. Just like that. And then we're going to take that tag, we're going to line it up just like that and run it through the die cut. One tip that I like to do, especially for smaller die cuts, sometimes when you put it, if you have a magnetic plate on your die cut machine, it will jump around. So I like to use either washi tape or a Post-it note to hold this in place. One thing, I have a ton of washi tape, and I'm sure you guys do too, that I never really use as an embellishment on a card, but I use it for so many other things because of the low tack that it has. I don't want something really sticky, so I might take a little bit of that stick off so I don't rip paper, but it's just enough stick to where when I line this up, now I can put this, it's not going to jump around. When I put it through the die cut machine, I know it's not going to move, and I'm going to get the perfect cut out of that. So that's just another tip when you're doing your die cutting, and to use your washi tape. Because if you're like me, you have a drawer full of washi tape. All right, so I'm going to run that through the die cut machine, and here we have our tag. All right, so let's put this together. I'm going to pull in some embellishments. I'm going to be using the brush brass butterflies. That's really hard to say, but if you haven't seen these, or if you haven't gotten these are lovely little embellishments that for cards. They don't add a whole lot of bulk to your card, so there's no extra postage involved, but they do give a wow factor because they are brushed brass and they shine. I added it to this particular one in the flowers and on the sentiment, so you can see how just a little bit of bling, subtle but beautiful, very classy looking, and not a lot of bulk. So I love these brushed brass butterflies as embellishments on cards and projects. All right, so now that we have our box put together, what I would like to do is a few tips that I learned while putting my other samples together was gluing the pieces together. So sure, we're going to take the cardstock die cut of the cup and we're going to adhere the DSP over top. But then after I did that, I realized, well, if I'm going to decorate the front of this with a leaf or these flower stems, do I want that to show on the inside? So this one I have showing on the inside. Not really a big deal, but if that bothers you, here's a way to get around that. So before you put the DSP cover over your cardstock, you can insert your flowers or your stem on the inside of, in between, kind of sandwich those in between the two layers before you glue them down. That way, when it goes on your cup, you're not seeing that within the cup. So depends if that bothers you or not. That's just a tip that may help you decide. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a little bit of adhesive to this leaf, and since it's on the bottom, I don't want it I don't want to go up too far on the leaf with the adhesive, and that was actually a little bit too much, so we're going to wipe this off and then apply your glue of your DSP. And you don't want to do too much either around the handle because you don't want it squishing out. And we're just going to line those two pieces up nicely. When you use the multi-purpose glue, you've got some wiggle room to line them up perfectly and just press them down. So now we have a nice clean backing before we adhere it to the box. So then we are going to apply glue to the V-shaped box. And this is another reason why you don't want that V too wide, because if it's wider than the mouth of the teacup and you put the glue on, well, first of all, the box is going to be hanging over the edges of the teacup, and you don't want that. So make sure that you kind of gauge where that is. I like to set the box and the teacup down on my desk and press gently so that I know that we're even on the bottom. Otherwise, if you overextend it, you're going to get a little rocking motion. It may not stand up quite nicely as you think. And then just look on the back to see if you've got it lined up and no extra pieces of that box edge are sticking up. Once you make one of these and figure it out, or look at my sample here where you just have a little bit of a triangle here on the bottom, then you'll get the hang of it real quick, real easy. All right. Then we're going to take the other side of the cardstock die cut out of this teacup, and we want to make sure that when we line this up, after we put the glue on, that we are not putting it on backwards. So you can tell once you die cut something that this is more of the finished side that you would normally do and use. However, we want the reverse side, and because it's the back, it's fine. If you wanted to cover this with DSP, you wouldn't be able to do it matching, but if you wanted an alternate, like the back side of that paper on the back, because you're gonna have to flip it over, then you can do that as well. Just make sure that when you're putting the box together and you're laying this down, that your handles match. Otherwise it will look a little clunky. And again, just put it down on the desk so that you get a nice flat surface on the bottom, and gently press the sides up on the teacup. You could also, another idea, if you didn't want to cover it with DSP and you wanted to leave it blank, maybe you wanted to add a little message to it, you could put the to and from, or stamp one of those little sentiments on the back. You know, sign it, however you wanted to do. Just make sure you do that before you apply it to your box. So that's essentially our teacup. So all we need to do now is decorate it. So I'm going to bring in a little bit of linen thread. I like linen thread because I find it's easy to tie and it behaves nicely after you tie, especially doing little tiny bows. So I'm just going to tie a little bit tiny bow here. And because it's a small project, I do want it tiny. And I have this tag sentiment, so we're going to need some dimensionals. One will do on the back. Little hearts. You can use mini dimensional on those. The little tiny itty bitty ones, I think that they would be perfect with just a tiny bit of glue. I think a glue dot you might be able to get away with. You might have to roll it up a little bit. Then if you wanted to add The bow, I do like to use a glue dot for the bow. And what I like to do with the glue dot is roll it back so I get a half, because this is a tiny, tiny bow. So you can see there that I've rolled the glue dot in half. I'm just going to apply it to the center section of that bow. And we'll put it right at the top here. So it kind of folds down. So if you want to add a little bit of bling, you can add in, I think these are from the new catalog, polished dots would look nice. It's got a little bit of pink here, so you could add some of those. And again, hopefully these are in the current catalog. I think they are. If not, stick with the brass butterflies. We can just put one up here on a leaf, just like that. And that is it, right? So we've got these. That is it to make those. So here is another trick that I was doing. I halfway put this one together. And I thought, oh gosh, I want to do something with this really fun ribbon. So the In Colors have this beautiful metallic, what's it called? Metallic woven ribbon. And you can see, beautiful ribbon. This is the Parakeet Party. However, it was a little thick, I thought, to make a bow, and it would be too big or overpowering for this little project. That's why I chose the linen thread. And I thought, how can I use this? And I thought, can I separate it and maybe tie a bow? You can't really do that. It would get a little messy trying to tie that. But once I started separating this reminds me of that copper ribbon that we used to have that looked like a fishnet. I thought, oh my gosh, that would look really cool as grass. So what I did was I took the stamp of the flowers here, and I stamped those in Parakeet Party. And I took this stamp, which is 3 buds and 2 flowers, and I said, let me stamp that in a dark color. So I don't want to cut them out. I just stamped right on this already stamped image of the stems. And I thought, let me add some grass to this, some greens. So I took my Stampin' Seal. I ran some Stampin' Seal. I took the little bit of this ribbon. I frayed it a little bit. I stuck it down on the Stampin' Seal on the edge like this, pressed it down, and then I just trimmed off the bottom. So this is what I got. Now, once you put this together, I think it is adorable. So I've already put my box together. I've put the backing on. I want to hide this, I think, in between these 2 layers. I think this will work out if I put it down far enough. Yeah. So I want to apply some glue to the back side, just on the edge. Apply it to the teacup like this. Now this, oops. This does have some stick to it, so I thought maybe I might need a little bit more adhesive. And if I ran the Stampin' Seal over that, again, it would probably pick up this frayed ribbon. So I'm going to add a piece of tear and tape, and we'll see. I don't want to add it too high because I want to make sure that I don't go above the line of that teacup, because when I put this over top, hopefully this is making sense, over top, I don't want that tear and tape to stick up past. So I'm just going to use my bone folder and burnish it down a little bit, and then I'm going to take my scissors and trim this off. And then remove this. So now I have a nice thin layer of adhesive over top that frayed ribbon, which you can see there. And now I'm going to apply some liquid glue on the DSP to sandwich those together. I don't really need to put anything at the top. I don't want it to get any more gunky because I already have the tear and tape. And I'm going to press that down. And I thought that that was just a really cute way to make it a little bit more lively, add a little bit more dimension, fraying that ribbon, making it look like it had some really, some real greens in the cup. And now all I need to do is apply it to my box base. Like so. Hold this in place. And we can even add a bigger butterfly. I'm going to choose one of the bigger butterflies right here. And maybe a little one up here in the grass on the stems to tie that together. Okay, those are my little favors. Again, they don't take very long. Plan out your paper, plan out your colors, get that all in order. Then you can mass produce and cut each box and put them together. Do all your die cutting at once, all your stamping, and all you're doing is mass producing and like a little assembly line, and you'll have these done in no time. I think your friends are going to love them. I would love to hear what you think about them, and make sure you share your ideas. Thanks for joining us today, and we'll talk to you again soon. Thanks. Bye.